What's up, everybody? Welcome back for another progress update video on Mr. Jordan Newman's first gen here behind us. Today is going to be a really big day for him and I. He is on his way over here this evening, and we are going to drive this thing out into the parking lot, into the daylight for the very first time in a very long time. This truck has not been driven under its own power since 2015 when he started the build, so he's really looking forward to that. And then if we have enough time, we're probably going to put it on the scales and see about where we're at with it, so we know about where it's going to end up. I know he's super nervous about that because he's worried about the truck being over 5,000 pounds. One of the rules for the Pro Street class and ODSS is that if you're aspiring to run faster than 530, the truck has to be under 5,000 pounds. So we'll be curious to see what that looks like if we have time. Hopefully we do. So in the meantime, to get you guys back up to speed on where we're at with this thing, the last time you saw it, we had just got the transmission, transfer case, drive shafts in it, and it was not running yet. Well, since then, we've made quite a bit of progress. It now is running. We have everything in the engine compartment, pretty much for the most part, finished up here. We have got the fuel pressure set in. Because this is a mechanical fuel pressure system, we had to use the pressure regulator to regulate that down. We're running 8 psi at idle. Really, a CP3 doesn't need a ton of fuel pressure. Really, all the fuel pressure does just makes it harder on the pumps. So we got it set at 8 psi. As soon as you give it some throttle, it goes up to 15 psi. Should max out around 50 at the most down track. That's all you need for a CP3. We've got kind of temporary-esque hood stack on the truck. This is actually JP's old hood stack because on his truck we are going to be building a header for it. So we are going to start with this hood stack for Newman because it already has our crankcase ventilation ports in it, and we're just going to modify it to fit his hood. Really, that's the last thing that the engine compartment needs fabrication-wise for my part of this to all be done with it. Like we talked about in the past with the removable radiator, we put the coolant disconnects on it. These are super slick. They're Jiffy Tight -12 fittings, and they work really well. You can just pop these things off, and just the slightest little bit of, a couple drops will come out, but for the most part, all the water stays in the block, all the water stays in the radiator. You just push these things back on, boom. So you can pull the radiator in and out of this thing at the track, and you won't lose any water. And then moving into the inside here, we have got several things accomplished as well. First and foremost, you can see that we now have a throttle pedal in the truck. This was a much bigger undertaking than what you might think. Getting a third-gen throttle pedal mounted into a first-gen with trying to utilize some of the stock mounts and not drill a bunch of holes or make some heavy, overcomplicated bracket and get it in a position to where it would be nice and comfortable for Jordan. You can kind of see in the video here that it's in the same plane as the brake pedal. One of the things that I don't like about a stock first gen is the throttle pedal is further towards the firewall than what the brake pedal is. So you actually have to come off of the throttle with your foot and then move up before you can hit the brakes. And on this, you can just sidestep right over to the brakes. Even when it's wide open throttle, there's still not much travel, so it's a real easy transition over to the brakes. Just stuff along the way that when you race trucks, you learn how to build them a little bit better every single time. You can see we've got our M&M shifter mounted. We did just a really simple 1-inch tube mount with a nice little plate that Chris Maston over at MassFab made me a long time ago. And that's just nut-serted into the floor pan, so that just bolts in really nice and easy. And we just used a quarter max. They make a nice little billet mount that mounts onto this M&M shifter that slides into a 1-inch tube, and that kind of allows you to choose your orientation of the rotation of it. And so we've got this thing all set up. When I do something like this, I actually have the customer, in this case Jordan, come over and sit in it. He was already fitted for the cage you know, when the cage was built a long time ago, he was already fitted, so the seat was in the correct location. So we just had to make sure that the throttle pedal was correct for him, and the shifter was at a nice height and orientation for him. And then coming over here to the passenger side, I got the nitrous bottle bracket mounted. When you guys are mounting nitrous bottles, make sure that you check for the angle of these things. You can see that this bracket has a raked design to it where the bottle actually sits at an angle. You want that bottle to be at about a 15-degree angle or greater. If you get that thing down around 10 to 5 degrees, that bottle is laying too flat, and you cannot consistently mix the gas and the actual liquid nitrogen. Liquid nitrous, and you'll run into issues with that. So that's something that if you guys are putting your own trucks together, make sure that your bottle is at least a 15-degree angle. So some of the things we still have to do in the truck here, we still have to mount the ECM. You can see it's just hanging under there. Still have to mount the smart wire. But aside from those two things, everything inside the truck here is done and ready to go. The shifter is hooked up to the transmission. We've already function tested that, gone through all the gears with it, and everything is good to go in that department. You might notice that we have taken the front and rear Lexan out of the truck, and that's because we were talking about the goals of the truck, what we can do with the truck, and the overall theme and style of the truck. And we felt like the Lexan was hurting the overall look of what this truck is going to end up being. It's not necessarily the goal for this thing to be a sleeper, but we do want it to look like a truck, and we just felt like the Lexan took away from that. The other problem with the Lexan is it would kick us out of a lot of the all steel, all glass type classes and some of the true street style classes. Since this truck is all steel with the full functioning coolant radiator system, he will be able to run some true street classes and race some car stuff. And I believe that we can be decently competitive in that type of stuff. So we elected to suffer by adding a little bit of weight back to the truck, but honestly, it's not going to be enough for it to matter. I think that the overall package of it and the classes that we're able to race is way more important than the 40 or 50 pounds that we're going to put back in this thing by putting glass in it. And then moving on to the back of the truck here, I've got the battery in it. Jordan's running one of my 12-volt lithium batteries in this thing. These are 1900 cranking amps. They only weigh 25 pounds. Super reliable, awesome battery. Run them in my truck, my dad's race car, my father-in-law's boats. Lots of applications that these things are super beneficial for. If you're interested, you can check those out on my website. So I got a new battery tray built for that for him. And then on any race truck that you relocate, or race car even, you relocate the battery on, you have to have an on-off switch. This truck is so stock appearing, like we talked about. You know, it's got the complete LE tailgate. It's going to have a license plate. I wanted to make sure that the on-off switch didn't kill the theme of the truck. And so I elected to put it in the tail light here, which is really slick. So it's a push off style, how all of them should be set up, and then you pull for it to be on and then push off. And then this will actually get labeled right here. We'll do like a matte black label so it doesn't stand out too much, but the safety people can still see it. And then I mounted the Flaming River master shutoff. This is all just a Tim McCamus kit. Mounted it there, and then had to do some modifications to the bed and obviously the taillight to get that through, but super slick. Jordan really likes that, and it's just one of those little detail touches to try to maintain the look of this truck. So that pretty well gets you guys back up to speed on where we're at with Jordan's truck here. Like I said, he'll be here any minute. It is hot today. It is 90 degrees. It's been raining on and off. Humidity is just through the roof. So hopefully the rain will hold off long enough for us to get this thing out and hopefully put it up on the scales and see what this thing weighs. If you guys are liking this kind of content, click now, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button in this video because it helps me get the content out there to more people. whatever straight is. You can put it in mark. Go slow. Put it in reverse. All right, so before you or I look at that number over there, let's talk about the weight that needs added to it. So we know for sure it needs a 75-pound hood. We're just gonna say it's 75 pounds. This is all a guess, but I'm gonna err on the heavy side so that way we're not disappointed in the end. All right, so 75 for the hood. The nitrous bottle and the plumbing is gonna be at least 50 pounds, so add 50. The glass is gonna be at least another 50 pounds, so we'll add 50 there. The wheels, we don't know. Those are kind of light, but they're kind of heavy because they're steel. So let's add 10 pounds per wheel, so add 40 pounds to that. And then the carpet and the interior pieces, let's be a little on the heavy side, and let's say you're gonna put 30 pounds back in that. And then the sheet for the top of the bed, man, I'd say that's probably gonna be 30 pounds because we'll probably end up doing that out of 1/8" aluminum. And then every fluid's in it, cool water, oil, transmission fluid, transfer case, drive shafts, brake fluid, everything else. So the only thing else that I can think of for sure is the weight of your race suit and stuff. So that's going to be at least another 10 pounds. And then seat belts, a couple little things like that. I'd say probably another 5 pounds. So what does that give us? 290 pounds. So let's just round up and say 300. So we know we're probably going to put 300 pounds more in this. So you want the truck to weigh under 5,000. Me too. So that means that the scale today needs to say 4,700 or less in order for that to happen. So are we ready to be excited and or disappointed? I have not looked at it yet. I am not lying. I have not looked at it. I don't know what it weighs, but we're about to see. We're gonna look at it together. You hit the screen. I haven't seen it yet. Brother. Dude, you're golden. 4304, 4303. So probably around 4,600-ish race weight. So within this, it's probably going to be exactly what mine weighs. Because mine right now is 4,680 race weight. Yeah. So you're for sure going to be what mine weighs. That's pretty good for an all steel, all glass, common rail, water, coolant in the block and head, air-to-air intercooler, the whole 9 yards. For sure going to be under 4,700 pounds. Nice. Not bad.